Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Robots and Red Tape. As always, I am your host, Nick Schutt. Before we get going, really want to thank everybody out there for listening, for participating, for being part of the podcast and being part of the community. Yeah, you guys are part of what makes this podcast so much fun for me, and really why I'm continuing to do this. So, without any further ado, happy to have my friend Monica Landen on with me today. Monica, how are you?
I'm doing well, TGIF.
There we go. It's Friday. We're having a good day. It's beautiful, beautiful weather out here. But I know we're going to be talking a lot around, data collection, data privacy, AI, but also, from an AI perspective, but also governance and cybersecurity. But for folks out here that haven't had the opportunity to have a lovely conversation with you yet, Monica, do you mind telling folks a little bit about yourself, your background, and kind of how you got here, and also a little bit about Diligent and why you're here and what you hope to achieve from this.
Yeah, sure. So, Nick, thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. And just to start, due to a job hazard, I must start by stating that the views and opinions that I share here with you today are my own and not my employer's. And so, to jump into how I got here, I don't know that human experience is generally a linear is a straight line, right? And so I started studying computer science during the dot-com boom and graduated during the bust, but that was in the late 90s, early 2000. And one of the catalysts that pulled me into cyber before, it was even called that was pure serendipity. I was invited to join a litigation research team on a case where bad code almost killed someone. And during that process, I had access to expert witness, and through those interactions, we talked about accountability and intent and overall governance as it relates to building code, which really pulled me straight into the world of insider threat and cyber attacks. And, from then on, I was hooked, understanding, how software is actually built. And knowing the rules is exactly what lets you break them. So that's kind of I realized there is no spoon. And I was drawn into security because it really does combine, problem solving, technical problem solving with real human outcomes. And since then, I've been in security for over, 20 years, and thanks to, some amazing mentors and managers and sponsors, my career has been, limited by my drive and imagination. And I've played nearly in every corner of security, from, incident response to writing software to offensive security. And today I serve as the Chief Information Security Officer at Diligent. Diligent is an AI leader in governance, risk, and compliance, where I lead an amazing team, and we deliver on our global, security strategy that's really focused on not only protecting the organization, but enabling innovation and continuing to maintain customer trust. So it's been, a chaotic and fun 20 years.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, and really awesome. I was surprised you didn't thank the hackers for continuing to try to hack things as part of it, because you could, I mean, without them, you wouldn't need to secure it, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. No, and I think and I know I remember we talked about this in our initial conversation. And I mean, yeah, I know you have spoken a lot around how society generally is trading convenience for, or privacy for convenience, right? And I think that, I mean, that's an old theme that gets touched on a lot. Whether is it people that give up liberty for feeling secure, deserve neither, things like that. But where do you think we crossed the line? Like where did we cross the Rubicon? And when did this, when did we really become or like, what in your opinion, where did things happen, and was that like a government side, like a corporate side, like, and kind of how did we get here?
So I don't think that we cross the line in, a dramatic moment. I don't think there's like a big boom and then we wake up and we say, hey, they took my privacy away, right? I think that we cross it through, thousands of really small decisions that feel reasonable at the time. If we look back, we accepted location tracking because it made easier navigation, right? We accept voice assistants because it's convenient. We record every meeting at work and let it take notations because it's better than taking your own notes. And I think that a lot of these help with solving a problem
Mhm.
for whatever the reason, whether it's it's more convenient, it's more secure sometimes. With facial recognition, your phone, I know people use, their biometrics to log in and it's effortless. But I think um, where we're headed toward is neurotechnology. And that's something that is an amazing breakthrough for those, suffering from neurological issues. But we're getting to a place where we're not just collecting, information about people. I think that we are at a cusp of beginning to collect information about how, people feel and think. And I think that's a completely different conversation. The concern isn't like one technology, it really is the cumulative effect of normalizing, that constant observation and
Yeah.
inference that AI can provide. And so, like, piece by piece, feature by feature, we're really normalizing a world where everything is, observable, it's recorded, it's analyzed. And then once that becomes, standard, it's not going to feel like, surveillance. It's
Mhm.
going to feel more like life.
Yeah, I mean, but I love what you said that you don't think it was like a death by a thousand cuts because I'm inclined to agree with you there. Well, I will push back because I think that we already are gathering what people feel and think, and I think a lot of that's social media related, right? People love to get online and give their opinion, right? And I think that the fallacy or one of the fallacies that social media has created is that just because like you have an opinion doesn't mean like all opinions are equal, right? Like I can have plenty of opinions about cybersecurity, but they're far less informed than yours are. And so, like, why do you think that AI is going to fundamentally change this? And how do things like neurotechnology, I'd love if you could define that for folks out there that don't know what that means, myself included, especially in this description. But how do you think that that's going to fundamentally change or enhance the data collection in, apparatuses that are already there?
Yeah, so I completely agree, right? I mean, initially I was hesitant to come on here and express my opinions and have voice and have video
Hmm.
related to my own persona. And I think that what AI is incredibly good at is connecting a lot of information together. And so, for example, I'm sure in preparation for this interview, you did some research on me, right? And I'd be pretty shocked at some of the things and surprised by some of the deep cuts that maybe you came across. And so we as consumers, as employees, need to understand that a lot of these digital footprints that we're leaving behind on the internet that never forgets is that they can be stitched together to potentially do conduct analysis on our um, buying purchases, right? They can be stitched together to give a employer a profile around, your personality and whether or not you'd be a good fit. And so I think that a lot of these different signals really will help with the enhancement of AI to be able to tell that story more quickly and at scale.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And I think like obviously speed and ease of things are already that just makes it easier, right? Which It makes it easier to hold everything together and do the stuff and make it happen and create more of a full picture. But like, what do you think that, how is this gonna be so much richer via AI and adding some of these like two-way interactions we have with agents compared to like just your internet search history?
Yeah, so for example, when we think about AI, what AI is really doing is it's automating like human cognition, right? The way it's emulating the way that we as people, acquire knowledge, how we store it, how we process it, how we apply that knowledge. And this is more than automating a task, right? It's really giving it agency, i.e., access to do and run and apply this different knowledge in almost everything that we do on a day to day. And so I think that it's different in that um, in different previous inflections of technology, like cloud, mobile, those kinds of things, it was mostly around automating tasks and where that compute happened, whether it was
Mm-hmm.
on premise or in the cloud or wherever, right? But generative AI is really influencing across the board how companies, make decisions and how they execute on their overall, strategy via these automated workflows where these AI agents really have the access to execute on their prime directive. And just seeing some of these, the just seeing how AI can pivot because it's very much focused on solving a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And my team and I were at an offsite, and we were kind of doing a show and tell. I love like seeing what we're working on and how it works. And the team was demonstrating an agent they wrote to automate some security tasks, and very quickly the agent was going off the rails, right? Because the access was kind of timed out and it didn't have access to what it had before. And
Mm-hmm.
so it keeps trying and iterating to solve the problem, right? Its goal is to solve that problem. And if it can't do it the way it was doing it before, it starts asking, well, I see that I have access to this website and it says I should do this. Um, can I do it? You want me to do it? Do you want
Mm-hmm.
me to execute that? Right? And you either say yes or no, or what have you. But these agents can go off the rails pretty quickly, and without that proper human oversight, it could be potential
Mm-hmm.
um, catastrophes. I mean, we've seen things in the news around, oops, an agent like deleted all of my databases and those kinds of things. And I think we're just at the beginning of all of that potential collateral damage.
No, I completely agree, and I think that I mean, I know we briefly touched on it, but I know this week, I mean, we're recording on July 24th. I know this week, big in the news, has been a whole lot of conversation around this ChatGPT, the ChatGPT, the security breach where their agent they had this new AI in a sandboxed environment and told it to solve. I don't remember exactly what they told us to do, but this thing broke the sandbox, got out, got internet access through iterating a lot of different ways, and then ended up going out and hacking Hugging Face because it thought that its solution to the problem was going to be in Hugging Face, right? And so, like, do you think that things like this are going to continue to become more and more prevalent, especially when you look at how even what especially when you look at like, I mean, you look at like Mythos and all these other cutting edge tools, right? And if Mythos is the best in the world, if I don't know, I'm not technically qualified to have an opinion on that. But if that can find 100 vulnerabilities, but if number two, we can find 80, like the net is there's still a lot of vulnerabilities out there. Do you think things like this are going to continue to happen more and more frequently? And how, as a CISO of a large organization, how do you think about and how do you approach your security infrastructure stack differently, as you think about building this out?
So I think that this is certainly a reminder that, we need to be thinking about overall, AI security and overall governance. It's not like a future concern. It's really an immediate, operational risk. And as these systems become more autonomous, organizations really need to treat them not as productivity tools, but the way I've heard some of my peers describe AI to their boards and to their executive leadership is you have now hundreds to thousands more employees. You see all of these agents as employees, right? And so it's more than a productivity tool. It's a potential threat vector that can behave in very unexpected ways. As I mentioned, you mentioned, the Hugging Face and some of that recently, and that kind of speaks to the the main goal of AI and the agents is, to complete an objective, and they'll be ruthless in ways depending on how organizations, how we've programmed them, what guardrails we've put in place to make sure that they don't um, stray from what's expected of them. But I think at the end of the day, it is a human decision, right? And we, especially as technologists that are taking advantage of this new technology, we need to be adopting it in a responsible way and accountable, and not say, oh, sorry, the model misbehaved, right? At the end of the day, we're accountable, and we need to make sure that we're building and adopting these tools in a safe and secure way.
Yeah, and we're only accountable if we don't have the best lawyers, right? Like, let's be clear. But what worries me, and this is something, and again, this is probably completely wrong, but what worries me is I think about, building guardrails into these AI, into these agents, these models, building guardrails into them. Like when we're intentionally trying to build a put a model in a sandbox, it's able to break out of the sandbox. At what point do the guardrails and guiding purposes and restrictions we put into these AIs, at what point are they irrelevant? Like where's that tipping point, and how can we ensure that we stay in control of the creation as opposed to the other way around?
um, well, I am a little skeptic, and I think that comes through through the work hazards. In that, sometimes I wonder if a lot of this is related to, marketing tactics, right? And trying to manipulate the community as a whole. In that, I think that a lot of these technologies have the capability of, breaking out, but I do believe at the end of the day, it is code, right? People write the code, and I think that it could be constrained in a way so that we don't have these continued issues in the longer term. But I think that we need to start that intentionality of building, the control systems around these systems now versus, after there's a major catastrophe. If I could be so bold,
I would love
is
bold.
to say something, potentially. controversial, and we'll see how it goes. But I think that as quickly and as at the pace that this is maturing as a technology, and really the trajectory that we're on based on some of these anecdotal incidents that have happened, is I think that, historians will potentially call this like an atomic bomb moment, right? So where we built this power, this capability before we actually had the control system. And so, like with nuclear weapons, right, we didn't get to the safety and the governance frameworks until after. And so I think that we need to make sure that we as an industry um, have to put those controls and those governance and those rules in place now to ensure human oversight. Otherwise, this is just going to continue to go off the rails.
Well, when it comes to short-term corporate profits and long-term, stability of companies or organizations or systems, I think we both know that most people are going to choose short-term profits, and that's where my concern is. I mean, you look there's I have a lot of things I could say about that, but I'm not going to. Especially as it relates to that. But yeah, because I'm with you, and I'm very concerned about it, right? Because I'm concerned that like you look at the people in Congress that are largely making some that are working on these rules that these security frameworks, right, or these governance frameworks. I mean, like a lot of them are this. I think this is our oldest Congress ever. I think most of them are trying to come up with solutions to things that weren't things when they were growing up. I don't know how qualified they are to have those conversations or do those things. And I know that staffers are doing most of the work, and that is what it is, and they're just out there fundraising. But still, you look at a lot of the competing interests around that. I have a lot of concerns, right? And so I'm going to ask you, why should I not be concerned, Monica? What's positive about this? And like understanding that, we don't really have privacy anymore. Well, we don't have privacy anymore. Like a lot of that goes back to the Patriot Act, right? And then, obviously there's been a lot of corporate powers expanded beyond that and government powers expanded beyond that and reaffirmed and reaffirmed and reaffirmed. But you look at the kind of the situation where we are, and how we've gotten here. Why should I be optimistic?
So I think that you're right in that a lot of times it does come down to, profitability and ensuring that, shareholders are happy. But I do believe that trust is a major factor in the longevity of a company. And I think that there are many companies out there that are building, trust infrastructure uh, to ensure that
What is
they
trust?
are bu- they are building the control system around these technologies for the technology that they own, right? I think people and companies are taking the risks seriously. Some of them, I would say, there's an adage around move slow to move fast, right? And making sure that that foundational infrastructure control plane for these type of technologies exist, and it's able to make sure that the output is correct, is not biased, right? We're making sure that they're making sure that the the agents only have the access that they need, that the logging's in place, that the overall governance framework is in place before adopting this technology. I think that where there may be some challenges is when there's an expectation to be the first to market, right? And in that rush, some of these things might not be adequately built in order to maintain that trust over time.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think that there is going to continue to be a rush to first to market. Outside of just wanting to be first, right? Like there's profitability associated with that. When you look at the bubble that we're in right now financially, like I mean, all these things start to duff together, right? And so, I know. I know you mentioned a lot about these companies building that out, building out a lot of the trust associate, a lot of these systems that to build a trust infrastructure, right? But deep fakes are incredibly convincing, right? Incredibly convincing. And that's going to continue to become easier and easier and easier and easier to do. And what do you think is going to happen? Like, do you think we're at a place where seeing is no longer believing, when it comes to videos and online stuff? Or are we there yet? Are we going to be there? How easy is it for folks to create a deep fake of you?
I think we're there. I think you only I like now you only need, a couple of seconds of audio to be able to create a deep fake. So audio has been available for a while now. I think video is really close. There used to be tells where, the video looked jittery, and but a lot of that is getting a lot better. And so I think that we're in a place where we're very closely getting to a place where you can't trust audio, you can't trust video, and nor the written word, right? And I think that will really play a part in kind of diminishing trust within our society. And so I think that the next frontier as it relates to this is building those verification tools and technologies so that you can understand the authenticity of, that audio file, where it came from, and have confidence that it's not a deep fake. Similarly, with video, I think that that's where we're headed in order for us to gain confidence in things that are being presented, whether it's, audio or visual. I think that that's where we're at.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're already there, right? Like largely, and I also think so. I think part of it is also the media literacy of our society, right? I think that when you look at how easy it's been to sway huge numbers of people with ridiculously low tech, social media posts, that's where I have a lot of concern. And right, and I'm not sure if you remember the incident that happened when Meta or when Facebook rolled out into Myanmar. Where you can see like, listen, we're a more society, technically and media literate society than Myanmar was, right, or is. And you look at how the hyper polarization and how that drives, and the misinformation that has been promoted on social media sites to drive engagement, because outrage drives engagement. Like, let's be clear.
Mhm.
And when, somebody like Facebook, and I'm going to call them out, I know you're not going to, but I will. They're selling our attention, so they need engagement, right? And so, you look at how when they rolled out into society, into Myanmar, which is a much less media literate society, they contributed to a genocide. Like, let's be very clear about that. My concern is that as these technologies get better and better and better and better, it's going to become easier and easier and easier for these, or for, so let's just say actors. I'm not even going to say bad actors, for actors to push agendas. And for, you think about, our parents or people like in their 70s, 80s, parents, grandparents, for whomever's out there, or maybe that's you if you're listening. Love it if you are. Um, you think about these things, right? And it becomes so much like as cognition, as your cognitive abilities decline as you get older, you're far more susceptible to a lot of these, phishing and deep fake attempts, right? You look at all of this, and I just have concerns about where we're going and how these tools can be used for negative.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think education and awareness is something that my organization, my security team really focus on. Because to your point, um, a lot of this technology. whether, it's a mobile phone or AI or whatever the next thing is, um, it really is changing our, day-to-day habits. And a lot of people really don't understand, how the technology works. They don't know about, potentially deepfakes or any of those risks associated with using this type of technology. I think we as humans can be easily manipulated,
Mhm.
and I think that human nature will not change. And I think bad
Mhm.
actors take advantage of that by pushing on, urgency, on threats, right? They're instilling fear if you don't do something that, there's going to be a consequence. And so I don't think that that will change. I think that that will be amplified with AI. But I do believe that as part of education and literacy, we do have to get better at starting those conversations a lot earlier,
Mhm.
especially with kids, right? Because today children get access to technology a lot sooner, and I think that making sure that there is an awareness both from all ages of the spectrum. I mean,
Mhm.
I go visit my parents regularly, and my parents say, "Oh, the bank called me and they needed my PIN," and I'm like, "The bank will never call you to
Mhm.
ask for your PIN, right?"
Right.
And so I think that having education and outreach to um, all people, I think, is important. I think it's a start, but I do believe that that's where bad actors go because it's the least resistant. It's the
Correct.
easiest thing to do is to manipulate someone to hand over something sensitive.
Correct. And
Yeah.
and so I want to hear what keeps you up at night, but what keeps me up at night around cybersecurity and keeps me up at night around this AI powered cybercrime that we're looking at and we've been talking about is that if as you said, your parents are going to answer the phone and give somebody their PIN, right? It just says they're from the bank. What happens when they answer the phone and it's your voice saying you've been kidnapped, right? That's what worries me because I'm with you from an education perspective, Monica, but like from an education perspective, like great, we can educate our kids, right? We can educate our kids. Have you tried educating your parents?
All the time. It doesn't stick.
No, it doesn't, right? And
Yeah.
even if you and like even people that are like and also not everybody is cognitively created equal. Like let's be clear. Like I saw my grandfather fell for some of this stuff. My grandfather's one of the smartest people I'd had the honor to meet before he passed, unfortunately. But like if he's falling for this stuff and he was far above average intelligence, right? And then you think about to quote my George Carlin, right? One of my favorite comedians. Like you think about how stupid the average person is, half of them are dumber than that. Right. Like it leads to a situation where it's just going to become easier and easier and easier and easier, and the barriers for entry technically are going to become lower and lower and lower. And so that's what I worry about. What do you worry about that people aren't thinking about as it relates to cybercrime yet?
Um, so what keeps me up at night related to cybercrime, and then, AI powered cybercrime, I think that we haven't necessarily um, seen yet, but I believe that historically, the last 20 years I've been in cyber, right? As it relates to security, we're looking at like messages, right? We're looking at, um, emails coming in, trying to convince someone to do something. They're very, transactional in that way. I think that with I think that that's going to expand into the scam being a relationship more than, the one-off, can you give me your PIN for whatever reason. I think that it can get really more sophisticated in that we will see these personas, and to a certain extent, it's already happening, right? Let's say AI Alex has a profile on LinkedIn. AI Alex regularly posts on LinkedIn showing that he's part of the industry. It sends messages, introduces colleagues, right? This persona also has employee employment history, where there is a human orchestrator that's managing these different AI agents with fake references, or maybe they have a job, the employer just doesn't know they exist. They're on dating sites, right? And they're sending messages to people on these sites, remembering anniversaries or good morning text messages, or what have you. And I think that with all of these little like mutually reinforcing signals, like from LinkedIn, podcast testimonial, or whatever, I think together they create like convincing legitimacy for some of these personas. And then now, because I know when someone reaches out to me, I, check to see, like on LinkedIn, I check to see, okay, how many connections do they have? Do I know anyone in
Hmm.
that network? And maybe if they're asking me to do something, I'll reach out to the person I know and say, hey, do you know this person? But now I think that where this like relationship, this persona is a scam, it could run over like months, maybe years, right? And you never know the difference whether or not this person is real or not. And so I think that that's what keeps me up at night is, this potential scam that really has the longevity of time, because, these systems can remember longer and act in a way to where, in a convincing way, we think they're real people.
Absolutely. No, and I mean, I'm with you. I do the same thing. I go, I check, I verify, but it's also so much easier to create a whole bunch of these fake personas like and maintain them, right? And so,
Yeah.
and you and I both know, like, I mean, listen, I've run organizations for years. You've been doing cyber forever, since before it was a thing. And so, like, we both know that people are the weakest link of any organization, cybersecurity, right? I've had employees like fall for the gift card scam before and like go out and buy $1,000 worth of gift cards and send them to some random number that was pretending to be somebody in the company when they were actually in the building with that person. And then instead of going to ask in person first, they just went and did it. So you look at all these things, right? It's just like I worry about this stuff, you know? I worry about it. So it is what it is. But what do you think? What scams do you think are going to become more commonplace before the public is ready? Is it going to be the relationships? Is it going to be able to building like a rich history and understanding people, or do you think there's other like simpler things that people are going to do?
I think that a lot of I mean, it goes back to really the human nature, and trying to manipulate us in different ways, and taking advantage of being able to manipulate reality, if you will, right? With some of these deep fakes. And I think that we as individuals within our realm need to help educate the larger audience. I know that you said, people are the weakest link, but I do believe that we could do it in a way to where it's definitely more impactful. I think that um, every one of us has an agency and a responsibility to, educate ourselves on some of the risks associated with the technology that we're using. I think that unfortunately some of us learn the hard way, right? And that could be a learning as well. But I think that we certainly need to be more vigilant about what we see and what we hear.
I'm inclined to agree with you. As yeah, as we get ready to wrap up here, Mike, I'd love to know, kind of as cybercrime and cyber and like offensive cyber becomes more and more and more AI driven, and cybersecurity becomes more and more AI driven. Do you think this is really going to turn into like an AI versus AI race? Or what role do you think people continue to play in this?
So I would say that for the last 20 years, it's been kind of a cat and mouse game, right? We have, bad actors trying to break into companies, and then the companies elevate, their posture to try to prevent that. And so it's always been this give and take. But I think with certainly with AI, it's kind of adversarial symmetry, if you will, in that, there's this technology that will enable both sides to be able to defend as well as attack different organizations. And so I believe that um, we're at a point where it's important to really understand the technology,
Hmm.
understand how to take advantage of that technology as defenders. So one of my core beliefs is really that the technology, as technology changes, really the security fundamentals don't. And the AI powered tools without that,
Hmm.
discipline, preparation, resilience really needs to be built in. And so I think that um, who wins really is kind of just depends on who gets better at using their advantage first.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens and how things continue to change. Is there anything, Monica, anything else you'd like to add? Anything I forgot to ask you? Any points that you wanted to make that I, just as a host, have failed at giving you the opportunity to do so?
Um, so I guess as it relates to my role as as a CISO, something I wanted to share with the audience that may not appreciate, but a lot of times, CISOs and security organizations, it really is a sales job. A CISO and the security team spends enormous energy translating, technical um, reality into language that people, that whether it's the board or the CEO or the different stakeholders, have action. And it's if you can't sell the story, right, the budget doesn't move, the headcount doesn't move. And oftentimes, success is invisible, and the failures are really catastrophic and public. Nobody celebrates when nothing happens, and so this asymmetry is brutal for morale. And I think that, this will be a really exciting time as security teams work with their different stakeholders within a company as we're rolling out this AI technology. And, I would, and I believe, honestly believe that, you know, engaging the security team early really enables that innovation to move faster, because if you already have like a paved road, it enables everybody to move faster in a secure way. And as as a plus, right, bringing in security early really shortens that sales cycle and really unlocks uh, customers. And so I think that it's important to really understand the value that security organizations bring to companies.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that to put it in a in business context for all of my fellow executives out there. It's a lot cheaper to prevent than to clean up. So, like let's go ahead and involve these security folks, our security team, and give them the respect that they deserve. But Monica, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, Nick. Really appreciated the time today.
So, and everybody out there, thank you so much for listening to Robots and Red Tape. As always, I'm your host, Nick Schutt, and I hope you're having a wonderful day.